Hello and welcome back to MC Airsoft. I am Mark, and today we're going to be discussing my Mark 18 build. So, why a Mark 18? Well, it's a good CQB gun. My primary is Mark 12, which currently is down for repairs. So I will be using this at Lion Claws, but being that the Mark 12 is, well, on mine, a full stock, and being the Mod 1 has the full quad rail and the full 18-inch barrel-ish with the compensator on the end, plus the scope, plus whatever else you want to throw on it. It gets heavy and it gets big, right? So it's not great for CQB. It's great for the field. As I said before, I think that the Mark 12 style of rifle is probably the best rifle for airsoft, but it's not the best. It's the best if you only have one gun, right? If you have multiple guns, or if you have the option to have multiple guns, that's always going to be better, because a Swiss Army knife has a crappy blade and a crappy screwdriver, but it is one thing that has both a blade and a screwdriver. Is it better to have a normal blade? Yes. Is it better to have, if you need a blade, is it better to have a normal screwdriver? Yes, if you need a screwdriver. But if you don't know if you need a blade or a screwdriver, it's best to have a multi-tool. Right. So, and that's kind of what I think of the Mark 12. Now, the Mark 18 is a little bit different. Now, in Airsoft, it's realistically going to get about the same range if it's tuned well. If you take a budget version of the Mark 18, budget version of the Mark 12, no doubt in my mind the Mark 12 is going to be more accurate, more, it's going to probably have longer range, things like that. And then if you take a very high-end build on a Mark 18 versus a very high-end build on a Mark 12, the Mark 12 is probably going to beat it on most categories. Where it's not going to beat it is mobility, right? So something like this is going to do much better in a CQB environment, mount town environment, or even just a recce environment where maybe you're not in the best shape and you have to move long distance or for prolonged periods of time. So something like this also might be better for a lot of mil sims, because you're going to be carrying it around long term and stuff like that. So the Mark 18 definitely has its place. Now, why the URGI? For those of you who don't know, the Mark 18 has gone through various iterations over the years. I'm not forgotten weapons. Don't expect a whole breakdown of the history of it. But the ones that most people are familiar with are the original, which is just a short-barreled M4 with car stock. It is very like 90s, early 2000s kind of feel to it. Some of them were even converted from the old XM177s, I believe. Don't quote me on that. But, you know, the original M4s, they were cut down barrels, refitted with new flash hiders, things of that nature. The ones that most people are more commonly familiar with are things like the Block 2, the Daniel Defense rail system, quad rail, super durable, super reliable, 10.3-inch barrel. Obviously, the durable and reliable, that's the real version, but the 10.3-inch barrel, various flash suppressors, various stocks, you know, whatever else you can change on it, grips, whole 9 yards. So SOCOM needed something new. Well, partially because they have a huge budget, and partially because they were finding that the 10.3 wasn't really cutting it. And they wanted to trim some weight, because there is a big discussion between the 416 and the Mark 18, and that's a topic for another video. But one of the big reasons you would choose a Mark 18 is because of the weight savings, right? This is lighter. This rail system is much lighter than quad rails, and the Mark 18 in general is lighter than the 416. Although most of the differences are really just for the real steel versions. The Airsoft versions aren't as many differences. So the URGI I believe it's upgraded receiver group or something like that. I can't remember. I looked it up before the video and now I'm drawing a blank, but upgraded receiver group improved or something like that. I can't remember exactly what the U stands for, but it's on the Wikipedia page. Look it up if you want. So why did I build my own rather than just buying one off the shelf? Well, it certainly would have been cheaper that way. But I knew I wasn't going to be happy unless it was clone correct. And I'm not a cloner, but if I'm going to invest money into something, I want to be 100% satisfied. I don't want to be looking at it a year or two from now and being like, well, I spent the extra money to get the rail and the barrel, but I've never quite been satisfied because the flash hider is different, the barrel's different, the like the barrel's shorter, the foregrip's shorter, or the barrel's longer, the rail system is longer, what have you. So I did spring for the extra money on the rail. Not Geisley prices, but we'll get to what brand and everything that is. And the ringing bell up here, the 4-prong flash hider. Now the rest of it is kind of budget. So back here, so we'll just go, well, we'll go tip to butt, right? Because that's what you do on YouTube, right? So tip to butt, HOA flash suppressor, right? So we'll pop that off, bring it close to the camera. HOA 4-prong flash suppressor. Now, why 4-prong versus 3-prong? Well, for Airsoft, it's aesthetics. 100% aesthetics. Why did I choose the 4-prong over the 3-prong? Because the 4-prong and the 3-prong were the same price, and the 4-prong is generally thought to be better, although are you really going to notice it? Maybe not. 4-prong is generally thought to be better. It is being given to some of the higher tier groups or lower tier groups, I guess, the tier 1, whatever. Fancier ones, anyone private purchase, you're more likely to see, anyone who can have private purchase parts, you're more likely to see the 4-prong. It's generally thought to be better. I don't know. I haven't shot either one of them. Every AR I've shot that I remember has had a bird cage on it, so I'm sure other people have better videos explaining it. But yeah, I went with the 4-prong, no particular reason. Then an important feature, this is an adaptive armament, PRC-15. It came with a 9.5-inch barrel, so I threw a 1-inch extension on here so I can have a proper length barrel and proper length rail system. Up top, this is a Coast brand. Let's see, nice and bright. It is a Coast brand flashlight. Nothing special. Got it at Walmart. The only thing I did to it to change it is I sanded this flat. It had like a tire kind of ridge system going along it, but in order to fit it into this, which is actually a Weaver rail, Reaver scope mount from Walmart as well. And really that's a placeholder until I can get a better option. But with the scope mount was like $8. The flashlight was like $14. Flash suppressor was $20, $25 from HOA. The extension up here was $15, which is stupid. I kind of regret wasting money on it, but did what I had, didn't make it fit, buy once, cry once kind of thing. The rail system here, the 45-degree offset, came with my real steel flashlight that I have on my 300 blackout. I took it off specifically because I wanted to run this at a milsim that I'm going to this weekend. So that'll probably find its way back on my 300 blackout. And then I'll figure out a better light system. Why did I choose this over my $100 like 1200 lumen or 1400 lumen flashlight that I have on my 300 blackout? It's because this is cheap, and if it gets shot, it's fairly bright. My only issue with it is, I don't know if you can tell on camera, but there are 3 different brightness settings and you have to cycle through them. Don't like that. But even the dimmest one is bright enough to look in a building. I'm not using it to blind anyone. I think that's dumb. Why waste time? Just shoot them. I've never been in a situation where that mattered. Another nice part about this flashlight, though, I know that's really bright on camera and annoying. So it has an adjustable lens. So that is tight focus, and this is essentially floodlight. So if you need to search a building and you don't want that backwash of light from like a white building, a white painted interior, or a mirror, then that's a good way of going about that. 45-degree offset, honestly, just generic. Doesn't really matter. Magpul rail adapter. Again, any rail adapter is going to be fine as long as it works. This is a Tango down grip. Nothing special. I do have zip ties in here if I need them. They're small ones that like I could use to zip tie a sight down if I'm going to lose it, or if I lose a screw or something like that. Or even I have zip tied receivers together before, so yeah. So there's zip ties in there. Tango down grip. It's mostly because I like having a foregrip over a lot of the other options out there. It's what I'm used to, and this one I've had for probably over 10 years now. So I just threw it on there. It is a really nice foregrip. It's definitely seen better days. It's been banged around quite a bit, but it is a nice foregrip. On top, both sides at the same time, Ruger. They are mostly on there for show. They are Ruger polymer flip-up sights because they are cheaper than the Magpul ones. And they work. You probably won't be able to see them through the camera, but there's one. We can just do it that way. There's the other. Nothing special. Wanted flip-up sights, partially for looks, partially because if this optic goes down, because I have a habit of leaving it on, while these aren't dead on accurate, they are still a reference point, which is most of Airsoft, right? Here's a reference point and Kentucky windage from there. So then the rail itself, again, this is HOA, HAO. I keep typing it in wrong on Google too. HAO rail system, and the fit and finish of this is phenomenal. If someone had handed it to me telling me that it was a real rail system, I've never handled the real Geisley version of this, but I've handled Knights Armament, I've handled all sorts of military rail systems, and if someone handed me this and told me it was a real thing, I might have believed them. Other than the weight would have thrown me off a bit, but it is pretty light. 1 second. All right, so one thing I forgot to check, so we're going to check this on camera together, is the quick detach points up here. So knowing a lot of Airsoft rails, they don't do anything. But look at that. I think it works. It doesn't turn, which is a bit odd. Oh, it's because probably, no, it's just solidly in there. So with a little bit of breaking in, well, it's turning one way but not the other. I don't know if that's true to the original, but yeah, so make sure you have it set up how you want it, and then it should be fine. So yeah, that's a good point about this, selling point, is that these are actually QD rail systems. In addition to that, all of the M-LOK does work. It's not like most airsoft guns that they don't work. But other than that, solid. I did have to hammer it onto the receiver because I got a little impatient with trying to X-Acto knife away the receiver because the receiver is plastic. So I ended up just hammering it that last extra bit. The fit to its own parts, great. But the fitment to airsoft upper receivers might be a little bit off. And specifically what I'm talking about is these tabs. So there's two on either side. These tabs did not fit quite right. Now, is that a big deal? No. If you are using a metal upper receiver, it might be a bigger deal, especially if you like the fit and finish of it and you don't want to change that. Something to be aware of. I haven't heard anyone else talk about it, so I'm guessing it's specific to polymer bodies maybe, or maybe it's just adaptive armor. Side up here, I did a review on this. This is a knockoff T1, T2 kind of thing. Red dot. Works just fine for what I need, and I kind of like the look of it because EOTechs in person always look super big and bulky. In video games, in movies, on YouTube, they always look small, but EOTechs look big and bulky in person to me, which is weird. Yeah. So, but you know, whatever you want to run up there, this is mostly what I had. I might be swapping this out in the future if I find a good EOTech replica I like. Because I like the overall form of them, but not quite the size of them. Charging handle, normal charging handle, doesn't really matter. Does have a sling plate down here. I swapped this out for, since my Mark 12 is down for repairs, I swapped out the hand grip here for one that on the Mark 12 that I already cut the nub off of, because I like the grip angle of a of the normal M4 M16 grips. I like the grip angle of them because being a left-handed shooter, I mostly shoot with my middle finger anyway. So for me, they're fine because I tend to turn the safety by either pushing with the index knuckle, turning it on, or curling my index finger, obviously not with these three out to the side like that, but curling the index finger to turn it off. So something like that. It is not an ambidextrous safety. I've never used a left-handed safety, so why start now, I guess. Definitely wouldn't pay extra for it. Sling plate on the back, 2 mounting spots on the right, 1 on the left, which being a left-handed shooter is where that is. I do have my rubber band retaining the Gunfather Milsim sling. I don't think he's named these yet. I suggested he call them Shogun slings because he's kind of got a samurai vibe with his like patches and all the t-shirts and all that other stuff. It works great. I'll be doing a proper review at a later time. It is a 1 point. Can you hook it up 2 points? Yes. This is a little loose. It's meant to go over a chest rig. Reason I run a rubber band is because it doesn't get tangled getting in and out of my gear bag. If I do need to get in a vehicle with this on, that's a better option. It's less likely to get tangled on things. But being a 1 point, I could always just unclip it, toss my rifle in, and hopefully this doesn't get snagged on anything. Not a whole lot of applications in Airsoft, more a force of habit thing. But it also gives me a good indexing point for my cheek here. Now I tend to shoot with the red dots, with it being raised up a little bit more. I want this rubber band to sit right at the back of the jaw, right at that knob right there. And that tells me that I'm in the same spot, because that will help you fight parallax. I think that's what it is, what the name of it is. But it'll help you fight the movement of the scope inside of it. So if you do zero your rifle, which you should, then it will be a repeatable zero. At the back, last thing, well, running the normal battery storage stocks. On the back, don't know if you can see it, I have electrical tape back there. One of the things that I did not like about this gun out of the box was that the rubber on the stock was not a hard rubber, it was a very soft rubber, and it tended to snag your clothes going through. Now, it was a nice rubber. If I was a real gun, maybe I would appreciate that. But especially for anything used in a tactical situation, or Airsoft for that matter, I want to be able to move it exactly to my shoulder or my pocket every time, and I don't want it to get snagged on anything. If I'm breaking it down into my elbow for reloads, I want to be able to go right there, bring it right back, no big deal. I tend to shoot a little bit higher. That's just me. Even real ARs don't have enough recoil to care. But yeah, normal 6-point adjustable stock, buffer tube on there. But yeah, that's basically the breakdown on my Mark 18. It's kind of a budget option compared to some of the higher end ones. If anyone's watched my, if you are interested in this rifle, go watch my other video reviewing this rifle specifically before I started tinkering with it. But it is a great rifle out of the box. The only update I've done is I flat hopped it. I tried an R-hop. Wasn't really worth it to me because of the, even turning the hop all the way off, I was still over hopping 0.32s. So, yeah. So I just went back to the flat hop on there. But yeah, that's the only other change I've done to it since that video. But yeah, so that's my Mark 18. I think it's turned out pretty well so far. I will continue to do updates on both this and the Mark 12 as time goes on, and whatever other things I'm tinkering on. So until next time, stay safe and stay hydrated.